Hi, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is another wonderful Wednesday, which means it's hump day. The week is almost over, and I'm super excited you guys decided to join us today. So let's see who's in the room or coming in the room. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Gina. If you guys can just drop in and say where you're joining us from. Hey, Bren. Hi, Pam. We'd love to hear where you're coming from. Hey, Tammy from Pennsylvania. Love it. I'm Sarita from Chicago, and it's cold. Why is it cold? It's just October. And they say we're getting snow. If anyone is not getting snow, tell me where you are so I can come visit you. Right now. San Antonio, Lavenda wins it. Yes. I need to be someplace snow already. Yes, it sucks. All right. So do me a favor. Andrew's gonna drop the link again to today's webinar. And he should have dropped it there. Share with your friends and family, your networks, because this is going to be a fantastic webinar today. We're getting some really great information. The great thing about all this is it is going to be live streams. Yay! So then if your friends and family can't make it to this one or your network, bring them to the, share it so they can watch it on YouTube, okay? Because we don't want to let this conversation, not this one. We can let a lot of them go to waste, but not this one, okay? Because we have some great guests with us today. We're gonna, what time is it? I can't see my time. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So welcome to Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. This is our webinar series that we've been doing for going on 2.5 years strong. Yay! Super excited to be able to always bring you guys great topics, great presenters. And yeah, this one is not falling short at all. Also, another great topic with great presenters. Next, Andrew. So you guys know the ways that we engage in our during our webinars. When you're ready to speak, just raise your hand. We're going to ask you to unmute yourself. If you feel like commenting, and we know that you guys usually like to comment a lot, you know what to do. Drop in the group chat. Just make sure it's going to everybody. If you don't make sure it's going to everyone, it's going to come just to the presenters. And then be patient with us. Sometimes conversations get good or our guests are speaking and we can't get everything, but just be patient with us, okay? We'll get it done. Next. Yay, agreements. Agreements are how we create an emotionally safe space. We ask you to be brave in this space. And while you're on the webinar with us, that you would speak from your own experience, use I statements. This means don't talk about other people's experience. It isn't yours to share. But if you speak about your experience, it frees people up in so many ways you can't even imagine. So use your I statements, okay? The second one, treat other people the way you want to be treated. This is just like all of our cafe agreements wrapped up with a little bow. Why? Because there's no judging here. You can get that on social media and all of that great stuff. We're not giving advice, none of that stuff. So treat other people the way you want to be treated in this platform. For presents, we know it's lunchtime. Hope you got your lunch with you. Other than that, please don't this is not the time to play Candy Crush, y'all, and be answering all your Facebook stuff and your Instagram. Be focused, okay? And if you need a minute, take a minute. We understand life happens. Do what you got to do and then come on back and join us. If you agree to keep this space safe or to be brave in this space, do me a favor, go ahead and drop your agree in the chat, please. Brand, it's okay. We understand. Go ahead and drop agree so we can keep moving forward. Yes, I love it. Hey, Mr. Dorian. Fantastic. Yay. Okay. I feel like this space is safe. What do you guys think? Okay, I think it's safe. All right, Andrew. So today, yay! I'm excited because our presenters for today are going to present on Learn to Live for teens and by teens. I had the pleasure of meeting these two young women at the National Independent Living Conference. I think it's called the Daniel Conference. That's what I call it anyway. And we were there, and there weren't a lot of people coming over to our booths. We were both vendors in this space, and there weren't a lot of people there coming to booths. It was a fantastic conference, so informative, so insightful. But for the vendors, it was slow moving for us. However, I was sort of grateful because I got to meet these two great people and then thought, this is a perfect webinar topic. So I thought I'd invite them to come and share a little bit with us. So let me tell you who they are. Let me introduce them to you, okay? So, dun, dun, dun. I'm so nervous. They have beautiful names and I don't want to wreck them. So just, pray for me, okay? So the first one, I'm going to introduce Lavenda Tuionetoa. Tuionetoa. I tried. Executive Director at Caring for Angels. Lavenda was born and raised in Reno, Nevada, graduated from Reno High School and finished her Bachelors of Science in Music at Southwestern Adventist University. She served as an associate director for a nonprofit in Tyler, Texas, and has served most of her life as a music teacher in the education field. She has spent the past 15 years in church ministry with her husband and 3 daughters. After 20 years of being away from Reno, her service is coming back to the Reno area as the director for Caring for Angels. Lavenda desires to help more youth and is excited to grow Caring for Angels' reputation in the Washoe County area. Fatai Langi is a director at Three Angels Care. Fatai is an entrepreneur, certified life coach, and an author. She is the founder and director of Three Angels Care, which is a therapeutic foster care agency located in Reno, Nevada, and also board president for Caring for Angels. She and her husband have been fostering since 2012 and are big advocates for the foster care system by providing tools and resources that will enhance the lives of foster parents and foster children in hopes to restore and preserve families. Fatai enjoys traveling with her husband, Ray, and 3 boys. Ladies, it is such a pleasure to have you with us today. I'm so excited that you're finally here. Yay! You put up with all my harassment, and I can't thank you enough. So I'm going to go ahead and go off camera and turn it over to you guys and enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Gosh, what an introduction, especially the introduction for Lavenda. Thank you so much, Rita. We are super duper excited to be here. Like the energy, I'm feeling so good when Sarita was going over the names. When people take time to really get to know our names, it means a lot because it reminds us of our roots that, we're not here just for this presentation, but also in representation of our Polynesian background. Just to add a little bit more, on who we are. We are first generation American Tongans. Our parents migrated here from the beautiful islands of Tonga over 40 years ago in search of a better future for our growing family. And so we're just really grateful that the space of impact that we can be here today. And I don't know if Lavenda wants to add anything else on. And Andrew, can you please get those slides up so we can get this party started?
I feel like I need to hear some music. Whenever we have our sessions, which we're going to go over, we have some really live up music and the kids come in with their heads bobbing and they see all the old ladies bobbing their heads. But I just really appreciate, Sarita, your introduction. Yeah, as Ty was saying, and we'll go a little bit into our background and how this all came about. Our parents were hard workers. My dad passed away 15 years ago just trying to make a living, trying to make things better. And if you could see where we are now, I know that our lives and how it's been and how it's turned out to be has made great impact. And I hope you'll be impacted today, inspired, but also inspired to make a change as well, because there's a difference. You can be inspired, but the real action comes when you make a move to make a change. And that's what we did here with Learn to Live for teens by teens. Ty?
Awesome. We can go to the next slide, please, Andrew. So our time together, we're going to really talk about just really how impactful the Learn to Live program will be. And we love interaction. So if you guys have any questions, I really do hope that we can have that time afterwards. I'm a talker, y'all. So if Lavenda's going to interrupt me here and there, don't mind her. That's just how we do. Cause we got things to talk about and maybe questions to ask. So Learn to Live, really the way that this program has come about, the program came a lot about really was the desire of needing to know what independent living skills are. And after being a resource, well, I'm still currently a resource parent, we had kiddos that were coming in. And what I noticed about the kids that were coming in, they would tell me, my famous question I was asking, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? What kind of career do you want to do? Where do you see yourself after you turn 18? And oftentimes they would pause. There's just no response. One response I'll never forget was, I don't know. How can I think about what I want to be when I'm still trying to figure out where's my next meal going to come from? Where's the next bed that I'm going to sleep at, depending, if there's a disruption. And at that point, it really dawned on myself that, wow, we lived in a family where the daily living activities that we did, it was just part of who we were. It was just the way that we operate as a family. And those were some things that we took with us, now to our adult life. And so we're going to talk a lot about what the skills that we felt were really, really important to us for what we are teaching, but also too, ones that we see that are extremely needed within our foster youth and also our at-risk youth. Next slide, please.
While we're going into the next slide, we noticed that when we were growing up, as we are looking at this one here, when Fatai and I were growing up, we acclimated to the things that we needed to do because we had mom and dad, and we had a community of people around us. We had our church family, we had our brothers, our uncles, my dad's brothers, there's like a whole bunch of them. And then we had first cousins, and grandma's house was like that day and age, the latchkey home or the daycare home. And it was one caregiver and like 17 cousins. Okay, just put a 1 in the chat if you've been in a home like that. If you've been in a home where grandma or grandpa was the main caregiver and you had a ton of cousins with you. And if you didn't, well, I wish you'll get a lens into what our family did. Fatai and I collaborated back in 2020 during the COVID pandemic part when we were moving to San Antonio. That's where I'm from. And as Sarita has already shared a bit of what our background is, we really saw, as we looked back, the growth mindset that independent life skills gave us. And we didn't know that that's what it was called. In our language at that time, it was called chores. Wake up early and do the things that you had to do. And if you weren't up, we heard my dad. And so for all of you who are not familiar, Polynesian way of raising is totally opposite of what America says. So a spanking here and there, or a whooping is what we called it at that time. You say those words nowadays, you can really get in trouble. So my parents raised us in the hard way of life, but we were also very, very much supported, like I said, by our community, by our church family, and also our cousins. Next slide. And so Fatai's going to talk a little bit about what we observed, how we came about this. I mean, after 30 years of 30 to 40 years of almost being taken by foster care, because my mom gave us a good whooping, a good one. We didn't forget it because we still remember it today. And neither did my cousins who lived in the house. My sister Fatai and a cousin of mine were actually both in the same classroom. Fatai didn't go to school, but he did. And so the teacher was like, okay, why are you here? And she's not. And as innocent and open-minded as he was, he just said, she hit them. And so she has bruises, so she has to stay home. Well, of course, for all of you educators, those are big red flags, verbiage that's red flag. And the teachers did what they were supposed to do rightfully. They called CPS. CPS showed up at our door. And to this day, y'all, we don't know what happened, why we did not get taken. But we did see through our lens, at least for me, what I saw at that time, how family came in together, because the night before we were about to get taken at school, or they were going to come over, because they did the whole thing. They came and looked at all our bruises. The night before, our community, our family came together. And as Christians, everyone came in for prayer and worship. And the next day we went to school scared, not sure what's going to happen. And the services that were offered then, or lack thereof, are still not offered today for our families who don't know what to do when things like that happen. So moving forward, what Fatai, you want to tell us about what happened, how we came about to doing Learn to Live?
Yes, absolutely. So of course, we were all going through this pandemic, and some of the different transitions that we saw, pivots had to be made. I mean, we saw churches, school, everybody is really trying to adapt to it. But what we really felt like, the people that were being left behind are the youth, are the kids, specifically foster youth, because they're so used to the outdoors, the regular life before pandemic. And so we were really looking deeply into what was going on into the school systems, kids not being able to go to school. Everything is now transitioned virtually. Then sports completely stopped. I mean, I remember one of my nephews just completely lost a whole year of football season. If you guys are sports parents out there, you know how much of impact that was on our kids. It was just a big transition. But what we did thrive off of was being able to see how virtually the world was still able to function. So we can go to the next slide. And when we saw that, really how you can go to the next one as well. When we saw how we can use the virtual platform to really still make the impact that we wanted, we took it and we ran with it. And so we were thinking, how can we make this program still fun, still effective, still engaging, but virtually? Because, you know, a lot of our kids, they need to be able to have that space physically, where the physical, they get to process those emotions together. And so we, you know, I am a part of another community where we've been doing things virtually for over 5 years. And so being able to transition that to now the new normal, that was like, okay, we can definitely do that. And so we started. Next slide, please. We started, and the program that we started with was teen empowerment. And again, mind you, just kind of like measuring some of the things that were happening, we started to see depression was coming in a lot more. We were starting to see that students were they were really trying to find an outlet, but really didn't know where to go. And on top of that, kids are sick and tired of Zoom life, right? They're sick and tired of Teams or Zoom. You have to log in, but then they have teachers, or they just have these authority figures that they're used to these sessions just kind of being like, oh man, everything has to be learning. So we're like, well, what are we going to do? How we're going to try to reframe this a little bit. And so we came up with a program called Teen Empowerment. And what Teen Empowerment was, it was a 10-week program, really, where students nationwide, we had kids logging in from Texas, from Chicago, from Reno, Los Angeles. They were logging in, and we were talking about what our future goals were, what we wanted to be when we grew up. We were talking about I am statements. We were teaching them how to come up with affirmations, self-affirmations for themselves. And the program was so lit. I don't know what other word to use, because that's the word that always popped in my mind. The program thrived so much that we were on there for such a long time. I mean, the kids really enjoyed being in that space. They enjoyed being able to meet, you know, other teens. And here's pictures. As you can tell, it was 2 slides. These teens would just come on and they would empower each other. And when a teen found out that, oh, you also want to be an NFL player, oh, you want to be an NBA player too, it created such a positive environment for the kids that they kept wanting to show up every week. Now, at the top left-hand corner of your screen, highlighted in the green, that is Dr. Eric Thomas. He is the #1 motivational speaker. And if you guys ever get a chance to go look him up, etinspires.com. He has worked with thousands and thousands of students, not just students, but adults as well, helping them to transform their life. And he had an opportunity to come on our platform and make such a huge impact on our kiddos that it really allow them to now dream, to think beyond just what their temporary experiences are. I'll go ahead and pass it to you, Venda. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so when we were able to launch this, just so you can get an idea of the kids and who Fatai is talking about, the initial view of group of kids we were looking at were the kids in the foster agency for caring for Three Angels Care. So we had some teens that were 17, 18, and there were some lack in services for them. We also had a few 14-year-olds who were kind of, you get some of those kids who are 14, but really in mind and mentality, some of them are 10, and some of them are already 21. So we had gaps in there where we were trying to figure out how can we get those who are 14 and 18 going into 19 be engaged on a Zoom call. So with what Fatai was saying, the atmosphere, as soon as the kids logged in, the faces that they saw were people who were kind, and the people who spoke were actually teenagers. We had stipend 2 teens to be our main host, doing kind of like what Sarita was doing here, but we just sat in the background. We just blew up the chat, talking with all the kids, and there were requirements in order for them. When you saw that picture of all those teens in there, they had to be on camera. That was a requirement, and there were some other incentives that we threw out there for them to be in. So these are 3 posters that we put up in the launch of Learn to Live. It was at the end of Teen Empowerment, where we decided somehow conversations, how conversations carry, kind of like how we landed here with Be Strong Families. Conversations happened, and we were able to invite some of the social workers that work directly with the kids from Three Angels Care therapeutic foster agency, and we invited them to come to our last session. And they were blown away. They were blown away about how many teens, and you might be wondering how many teens were able to come on week by week for 10 weeks. And actually we extended it to 11 weeks for an hour and a half on Tuesday and Thursday nights. And they were faithful. They were faithful. They came on 45 youth from across the nation. And that's a huge number for virtual. And nowadays, with everything being in person, so 45 youth came on, and I believe about 25 youth won the incentive of $100 if they attended every night and got their points. And it was that night when Washoe County Health Services, Human Health Services, joined, and we were able to collaborate together. We were able to secure a grant with them, and we started Learn to Live workshops, which we ran the same way as we did teen empowerment, except now it was more focused towards independent living skills that propel these youth into adulthood. Ty?
Yep. Now, just as any other kiddo, because I'm an adult, right? But sometimes I feel like I have that ADHD kicks in sometimes. The kids will show up like once or twice, and then they're like, peace, I'm done, I'm out. But we were also figuring out what are some other ways we can keep them engaged, just really trying to be strategic with incentivizing the program. And so one of the other things, aside from the $100 that they can work towards, we were also giving away gift cards. We were also giving away gift cards for different people. If you came with your camera on, you came with a positive attitude, you're going to weigh in on different conversations, adding value. That's what we always called it. Add value to the conversation, and keep your camera on throughout the whole entire time. These were ways for you to be able to earn one of the gift cards. And so in return, they didn't know that this was also part of their life skills. Mm-hmm. We're really teaching them how to be assertive, certain conversations, how to show up. Yes, I know that it makes me feel kind of weird and nervous, but I'm going to be here because number one, I can earn $100. Number two, I can get these immediate incentives, because that's what my ADHD loves. I want to know that I can get a prize right away, right now. And then also too, the most important piece was the engagement. These kids would show up not being forced. This was their own decision to show up. Some days, we had just one, some days we had 15, other days, the 45, but it was the consistency, even in our teen hosts, where we recognized that was the most important piece.
And before we go to the next slide, I was just going to add on, you know, when we looked at the way that they engaged, what they engaged the most in, and which is exactly what Be Strong Family does, through questions that we posed questions to them. We had them share, like Fatai said, their I am statements. We had them be accountable with a partner where they were connecting on a weekly basis. And that was another way of getting to know each other. And, you know, for a young kid who's 14 or 15 or 16 who don't got a job and all you got to do is show up and represent, that was like piece of cake for them. Like, oh, this is easy. And what the real winner was when we had them do our virtual talent show, you guys.
Oh,
We
yes.
didn't know if we can pull it off, but we were like, we got to do something that can bring them together. What can we do? And we're like, virtual talent show. I was like, how do you do that? I mean, you know, but technology was so in our favor during that time, and it still is. And I'm so grateful that we have technology to be able to spread impact. These kids sent in their videos, and mind you, this is the teen hosts encouraging their fellow colleagues, their fellow teens, you guys get your videos in, this is the last deadline. And so teens would send in their videos. And of course, between Fatai, myself, and some of our other coordinates, we were on, but we were managing in the background. We had to make sure that what they brought was clean, was relevant. And even if it was a 10-second video of someone doing a flip, because that's a talent for a kid who probably has never been in a trampoline park, or a kid who has never had an opportunity to be in gymnastics, we blew that thing up. We played that 10-second reel for a good minute. We're like, take a look, and we slowed it down. It was just phenomenal. And the way that the kids engaged and loved, the way that they were highlighted was, if you guys can just see their faces, it was so worth it. And when we were able to collaborate together with Learn to Live, HHS, we had set it up in a way that they can do the same thing. And so at the end of the 8 weeks, it was an 8-week cohort. At the end of the 8 weeks, we were able to come face to face. We brought the kids together. And of course, during COVID, it was still a little tricky. So we followed through with the CDC guidelines, how to spread everyone out. But that was so hard. I mean, how do you yell and cheer your teen, you know, with a mask? But it was just phenomenal. We utilized a lot of free spaces for us to connect, especially as a foster type of organization. We collaborated with Kids Cottage, which they had a gym. They let us use it for free. We got all our volunteers to come. We connected with other nonprofit organizations that dealt directly with kids, and they came and represented. We had booths out. We connected with other people who were, you know, philanthropists that had a view of making change, not just inspiring, but making change. So as we go into our year review, I'm making sure that I stay in time as well. The next slide here is going to show you just a few things that we did. You can advance to the next one as well. We did talent shows, we did socials, and these flyers varied. Every 8 weeks we had different ones, and as you can see, we had a first place winner was $200, a second place winner, and $200 is a lot of money, y'all.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. So
yes.
Kids were trying hard, and what made it so fun, Ty, if you think back, even the ones who really didn't have a talent, they went for it. And so,
but you know what? Even the ones that, remember when those videos were coming in, people were like, oh, can I still send mine in? Can I still? I mean, it was the hype and the excitement, you know, the energy that the kids had, even in the chat. When they were able to see, you know, other kids. I mean, we had the one that really stuck out to me. We had a girl rapper. I wish I had the video to show you, but all of the content that she was rapping on was about her experience, because she just felt like, oh, I can never talk about my experience in foster care because, you know, either her bio parents are going to get upset or somebody's going to always get upset. But we told her, it's your story. You have an opportunity to rewrite the story, you know? And so, I mean, the talent was just ridiculous, and even talent that we didn't notice. But I think of everything that, just looking at this picture, when we started to integrate not just foster youth, but we said at-risk youth as well. Kids came together. They didn't know who was foster. Right. They didn't know who was at risk. We even had some kids that, you know, excuse my French, privileged kids that would join too. Nobody knew who was who. Right. But the fact that they get to be in the space where there's no labels. Your only label is you're a teen and you're learning life skills. And this picture right here, because we know who they are, it's such a representation that when you take away the labels from the kids, kids are just kids. And, they just really want to be able to have a good time. We can go to the next slide. Sorry, Lavenda, I had to add that there because that really got me excited.
It's all good. This was our talent show. We had some representatives from UNR, which is the University of Nevada, Reno. We also had Chuck, who is a born and native of Reno, and he kind of came from the same background that Fatai and I did. We grew up in Title I schools, and we were just kind of bumping around trying to see where we can fit in, even when we got removed from the school we were in to a better school that my parents wanted us to go to. And we had these people, and there's a wiser lady in this group. She's right in the middle. Her name is Pam. She actually went to the school the first day the doors opened, the school that Fatai and I went to. And at that time, it was considered the ghetto school, the rundown school, the scary school. And she went to that school when it was new. And she's of Italian descent. We had the kids just excited to perform and to share. And one of the things that we really appreciated about this is because as the time went by, when people were hearing about Learn to Live, all these other agencies were hearing about what we were doing, they started to make sure that their teens were enrolling in the beginning of the session, because to be a part of it, a part of the talent show, even though some of them didn't stay all the way through, but we didn't say no necessarily because, oh, you didn't join our program, so you're not in it. No. We wanted to have an open door, but between Fatai and I and our other coordinators, we had to make sure that we presented quality, because we didn't want to be just putting things together just because you guys are foster youth or you guys are at-risk youth. You guys are not used to things that are up to par. So we really put our best foot forward as if we were presenting it for our very own kids.
That's right.
And that was the thing that a lot of our teens, when they would come into our sessions, they didn't feel that they were classified different. They knew when they talked with me, they got love, they got care. And of course, I had to be very, very transparent with them if they were doing things that were outside of what they knew was right. So we just really started to develop a relationship so much that when we were at the end of the year, we had kids texting us and asking, when are we going to do this again? And it's like, yeah, all the hype because you guys got money. Yeah. Getting those donors for all those kids was not an easy task. Well, I shouldn't say it wasn't easy. It was easy because you talk to the right people who have a heart for this kind of work. And shout out to Love Indeed, who supported us strong, as well as county. But when they say, when are we going to do this again? It makes purpose. It makes me feel like our purpose and what we were inspired to do moved us forward to make changes. And so we're excited. I wanted to just share with you really quickly what our data is. If we can go to the next page, we collected data after a full year of doing Learn to Live, just plain workshops. The next slide shows us what our target audience was. Our kids who lived in low income areas. They attended Title I schools. They were impacted at some type of impact from foster care, or they were aging out, transitioning or aging out of foster care, and they lived in the Washoe County area. In order for us to maximize the impact, specifically in that little nucleus where Three Angels Care is, we wanted to make sure that they were in there. Now, if we had kids that joined from other agencies, we secured donors that would support them. So just so that I wanted everyone to know that, it wasn't just so much just staying within. We kept trying to bring other people in for impact. And Fatai, if you want to go ahead and talk about the analysis of our sessions.
Yeah, and this was really where we started, because when we first started, we were like, we just need kids, just bring them in. But then as time went and we were a lot more intentional with what our reach looked like, we were starting to really see, which level of kids are really starting to come out. And as far as like the participants who were foster teens, non-foster, and also the winners of our session. I mean, this was good information for us, to see on our back end, so that we know that it's not just foster youth that need these kind of supports, these services. it's also non-foster youth as well. And that's one of the things, as we continue to develop our program, we're always looking for more innovative ways of where the reach can be a lot more consistent, and the participation as well. And we know sometimes specifically dealing with resource families, because I'm one too, sometimes it's just too much. It's just another thing. So, Lavenda's always trying to she's always asking me, how can I get you as a resource parent to be active, to support your teens with this? And it was really knowing that it's not just me, it has to be on the foster team. It has to be on the foster youth. They have to have some kind of engagement and willingness to want to participate in it. And as we all know with our kids, well, what am I getting out of it?
Right.
I don't know if we're going to keep increasing that $100, because that's
You
definitely
did that face a little too well, Fatai. I think one of your boys has been wearing off on you.
I think so too. But that this is what excites us, when the more kids that come in and that positive impact is made on them, they are really the testimony of this experience. They get to go and tell other people about it as well. And we have kiddos that have come in, this is their third session, but the more and more they're exposed to it, maybe they didn't hear it the first time, but the third time around, it definitely now sticks with them. And now they're really understanding, this is the reason why I need to be able to understand what these skills are, or really start practicing them while I'm still with my resource families.
Right. So our next slide just tells us what the outcome of our effort and what we've done. So we felt that gap services were provided because as Learn to Live evolved, and I got this phrase from, is it Tarcisios and Sarita? When we met them in Florida, they said, we are building as we are flying. And literally, that's what we were doing with Learn to Live. We started like from here, and as we kept flying and growing this thing, it was like, we're going a different direction. The way that this is leading, it was because we were trying so hard to adapt to the needs of the kids. Sometimes, and I know if there's any educators in here, put a heart in the chat. Sometimes we have a curriculum, and the curriculum says, this is what you have to teach. This is what you have to teach the kids. And by the end of the school year, this is what they should know, like the map testing and all that. But with Learn to Live, we had to adjust because we didn't want to leave 5 kids out of the picture who, even though they're 14, mentally they're 9 or 10. So we tried our hardest to adapt, and we did get professionals who were in that lane, people who did banking and finance, people who were in charge of homes, people who knew how to handle credits, and people who were life coaches. We had these professionals come onto our session and teach those main core services. So we felt that the gap services were meant for our teens. We felt that engagement happened. There was no doubt engagement. And even our 5th session, which started in October 4th, last night we had a session, and it was awesome because we talked about how to get a job and keep it. And what our friends from Express Employment is going to be teaching next is how not to lose your job. Because some teens, they just think showing up is it. But they don't realize that personality and the way they are, even the way you smell, can be offensive. It can be like a red mark against you. And also, our teens earned money while they were learning. And that was a huge thing for some of these kids who probably don't even get an allowance in some of their foster homes. Or if they do, it's really minimized. So we felt like we were doing something good for them. And out of this effort, y'all, this is the part that I feel I'm the most excited about to share, and it just keeps it keeps growing as we're flying this plane, how we're changing it and building it. Fatai will talk about it, but we were able to secure a Learn to Live home. So this is how it goes, you guys. You do 8 weeks in our session. If you do more, that's even better. And if you're 18, or those teens who are transitioning out from foster care, after you complete that, you get a certificate. As you saw in some of the pictures, some of our kids were holding certificates. You are then eligible to apply to be a tenant for our home. It's a Learn to Live home. And what it is that you now take what you've learned over the course of 8 weeks, or however, 16 weeks, and then you're applying it literally.
You're living it out. Living it out.
And we collaborated, yes, and we collaborated with county, with some of those teens who were transitioning out. And we did research, what is the reasonable rent for space, because it's really expensive in Reno, and $900 for common space and a room is very, very doable. And as of today, we have one tenant, and we are looking to accepting our second tenant. But it's just growing. And Ty, you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yes. And I don't know if anybody out there like is a visionary or two. This has always been like the ultimate goal, is to be able to have like the what's next, not just for the program, but what's next for the youth. And I've been a resource parent for 10 years now. And so I have kiddos that were with me that are now having kids of their own, that are reaching back out to me and like, oh, I wish I would have paid attention when this was going on. I wish I would have done this when that was going on. And so as we were building out with Learn to Live, and every session, every cohort that happened, it was always the vision of the what's next. It was like the home, yeah, but we were like, no, we can't make sense of that, because, even though the number 18 is what kids look forward to, like they're not ready for it. We can try to teach them everything that they need to know at home, but they're really not ready for it. And so when we came up with this, with the idea of the home, this is really where we saw the excitement, especially from the 16-year-olds and up.
Yes.
A lot of them, and as we know with the foster care system, most teenagers, I'll just be very transparent. Nobody want to adopt teenagers. Mm-hmm. Why? I love them. Like I have my home, I have preteen boys, and I also have teenagers. And I realize the things that they really need is just effective conversations, effective communications. They're looking for ways that they can positively make a connection. We always say, oh, they're negative attention seeking. No, they're connecting seeking. What they're looking for is some kind of connection. And when we started to make those connections with our attendees, the kiddos that would come on, when they saw this opportunity, it gave them something even more so to work towards, to want to be a part of. And this is the interesting thing. Some of the kids that are part of our 3AC family, they're like, okay, well, who's the staff going to be? Who's going to live at the house? I'm like, bruh, you are on your own. Yes, we have cameras, things that are going to be outside of the home to support you, but you're going to be on your own. You have a life coach that's going to come and check on you. You also have a program specialist that's going to come and check on you. And these are just adults that we have coming in for accountability. Right. And so I know some of you guys are probably like, oh, who's going to be in that home if they're going to be, completely out on their own? Like, what is that going to look like? This is the reason why we still have their supports. Mm-hmm. So they can feel like, one of the things that I always tell the kiddos when they turn 18, I say, guess what, buddy, we're equals now. Pay rent just like me. We're equals now. But of course, I'm not going to charge them rent. But that's part of the responsibility that comes up, that comes with it. And so we teach them, we would rather you mess up in these 9 to 12 months with us so we can help you than for you to go out and be completely on your own. And then you're just like really stuck. And so this has been we still are working on this and we're building it. We work closely with our licensing agency, even our partnerships with other stakeholders as well, giving us their perspective and also their advice too of what they think would be good for the program. And so as the Learn to Live home is now the popular thing, kiddos are like, oh, we want it, it's been around, I think the home has been around for 5-6 months now. It's starting to become a lot more popular because kids are realizing I can actually practice this on my own, but I have a coach and I also have supports, not a social worker, not, like some of these other adult figures that they felt, now we're equals. This is where we really encourage them. So next slide, please. If you guys have any questions about that, we are here for it.
As we're coming to a close, this is our last slide. We just felt strongly. I know for me as the executive director, and I have been doing this all virtual. So though I live in Texas, I'm supporting youth and young people in Reno, Nevada. I'm thinking truly this has to be able to work in Texas as well. truly this has to work in other areas. Fatai and I have lived experiences, and she's going to share a little bit of what she's done. But for Learn to Live to be able to work in your community, it absolutely can. You can connect with us and see how we can work together to see how that can be. We have seen the transition, the transformation take place with these youth. Some of them not so good, some of them for the better, but there is a transformation taking place. There are things that are being provoked in their lives where they're saying, truly, I can't just be sitting here the whole time and waiting for Mama D and Mama A to come and help me. They have to be able to get on their own. And whenever we made changes, I wanted to bring this part up. Whenever we made changes to our Learn to Live programs, we always consulted back to our teen hosts. We always went back to our teens and we said, Chuba, who's one of our hosts at the whole year last year, what do you think could be better? What did you think about that session? And they were very transparent. They would be like, yeah, it was kind of long and boring. It felt like it was school. Yeah, that was actually really good because everybody was, coming on, and they were like, yeah, I see that so-and-so is looking at the camera, but I can see the reflection on his eyes. He's playing Roblox, So, when we consulted back to our teens, because Fatai and I know what we want to see. We know exactly where we want them to be, but we needed to have the lens and the view of our teenagers. What is in? That's why we are so bad at TikTok and all of these other, making these, but we have them doing it. We have them because we want the kids who walk into our Zoom rooms to feel like, oh, this is something that I can do in the future. And to tell you guys the truth, I mean, I always have been telling the truth, but my heart was moved when we had several teens ask me, texting me on the side, can I be a teen host? Care for Learn to Live in the future. So I hope you guys were inspired to make changes wherever you are, even if it doesn't look like this. I know that this book, if you guys are able to get it, Fatai wrote this. It gives you guys a deeper lens into the life that Fatai and I grew up in. Also, especially from Fatai's view, coming from parents who were migrant immigrants into America and did the best that they could, raised us, and the way that their love, their labor of unconditional love bled into us, and we were able to give it back. And we do it even sometimes not even thinking. That's just the way that we are. So Fatai, you want to share a little bit more about your book?
Yeah, thank you, Venda. This book, it just really talks about the shift, right? There's always a shift, there's a transition, there's a pivot that we all make. And this was my pivot from my trauma, my childhood trauma, how I was really able to understand, the challenges that my parents went through. And now that I'm married, with my own little family, and I'm like, oh man, that must have been the way that, things were for them. But it was the understanding of the resources that we had, the natural organic resources that we had that most families that are impacted by foster care do not have. And it talks about just like how we are now living on the legacy that my dad built for us. My dad, he took in kiddos, he took in our first cousins when they were being challenged, when they were challenging their families at home. We always had, the kids would get sent over. Our first cousins, multiple cousins would get sent over to our home.
That was a real foster home.
Yeah, that was a real
either a foster home or the real juvie home.
Right. I know which one was it. But I tell you, the experiences that we lived with a lot of our cousins that were trying to find a breakthrough for themselves. Like they were so behaved when they lived with us. We were always wondering, well, what is it that dad's doing that, that these kids, that these trouble, we hear about their experiences are so rough, but when they come and respite, in our home and with our family, they get to see a different type of family dynamics. They get to experience a different type of family. And that's exactly what we offered when we decided that we're going to become a resource family, not just parents, a family, because it takes a family to raise some of these kiddos that come in. We realized at that moment that this is exactly what it was that my dad did. He opened up our home for our cousins so they can see and experience what a different family looks like. Because sometimes the kids, as we know, they come in, to the foster care system, they're confused. They don't know anymore. What was so normal to them they're now told that it's wrong. Everything that they've ever known about their nucleus family and the way that their upbringing was. And so I talk about my experience, and then I share some of our resilient stories of kiddos that came in and, dealing with the system and then saying, oh, well, you can't, there's no way you can raise those kids. There's no way they're going to be adopted out because they all have challenging behaviors, and there's no one family that's going to take them all in. And so at the time, this is how many kids were in my family. The 3 boys that are facing the camera, those are my biological boys. And the other kiddos in the picture, those are my nieces and nephews. One of the things that we always tell kiddos when they come into our home, do not call me foster mom, do not call me foster dad. I am your aunt, because aunts love just like moms, uncles love just like dads. We just have a different responsibility. And so we've taken in almost about 100 kids into our agency overall. And it's just been, a wonderful impact. But I'll tell you, one of the resources I share on this book and why we were able to thrive, and even our nieces and nephews and all of the kids that have participated in Learn to Live, is because we use a tool that's called the DISC assessment. Some of you guys might be familiar with it. But when my mentor exposed me to the assessment, it really taught me who I am as a person, how to be more authentic in my approach. How can I live a more authentic life? How can I continue to live in my purpose? And this is a tool that we share with our kids. And when the kids get to better understand who they are as a person, they now will understand that all the challenges that they've been through, that's a part of their experience. They have an opportunity to rewrite their story. And so today only, y'all, the book is free. All you have to pay is shipping and handling. So please go and get this book. The story is such an amazing story, and I want you guys to have it in your hand. So I'm giving it to you for free. Just pay the shipping and handling. And I just can't wait for you to read about the story, read about our impact, and why this is this kind of work that we do is so near and dear to our hearts. Back to you, Venda.
Yeah, as we're coming to a close, before I turn it over back to Sarita, we couldn't have done all of this stuff. We couldn't have had these experiences had it not been for parents who were hard workers. My dad passed away 15 years ago. And my mom is continuing on to live a legacy that she and my dad built together, and it's being lived out through the way that we are making an impact, no matter where we are, whether I'm in Texas or Wisconsin or Arizona. My parents really had a work ethic that showed true unconditional love. Sometimes where it was like the other people had more love than we did, but it really wasn't that, because we were always with them. Everything they had was ours. Everything that they didn't have was not ours, so they always had us, but the way that they loved other people was just phenomenal. I just wanted to bring that in because I know my mom is probably watching, but I just know that, if we can make impact on the youth that don't have parents, that don't have adults that are caring in their lives, that can actually duplicate itself into generations to come. So thank you so much for your time. I will turn it over back to Sarita.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm so inspired. I just, oh gosh, thank you, aunties. That resonated with me so much. I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, we have like 5 minutes. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and drop in the chat. And I just want to say, did I miss something? How did you guys find the children that joined the program?
So these were kids that came from the agency, and we collaborated with HHS, and they blast emailed out to all their agencies that they licensed.
Okay.
And so we had them, and then we have our board. We have a lot of educators on our board. They helped also bring kids, and we just reached out to the kids who were in teen empowerment for them to come back on and have an opportunity for another $100, and also to learn life skills that will propel them. How
cool. And then you guys are doing such great work. I love the house. Oh,
yes.
So how can people donate if they wanted to give and donate to be a part of your efforts? And because I can't imagine that is a cheap effort, right? I can't believe that's inexpensive to get a house and to buy rooms, and so you can do more of those homes. How can people give or donate?
Well, you can go on our website on Caring for Angels, Caring the number 4 Angels. I think Andrew put it in the chat. And there's an area there where you can give. All donations, go directly towards helping the effort. Unless you specify, if you specify it's for the Learn to Live home, we will make sure it goes directly there. But that's ways you can do it. If you want to send a care package, you can also send it to our office. If you want to donate to specifically, because this round is going to be all girls in the home. So, all the things that girls need, and we need a lot,
Right.
Just
to maintain. So you can do it that way.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. This was such a great topic. I'm so glad that I asked you guys, and I'm so glad that you agreed and you put up with my constant harassing. So God bless your ministries. God bless your ministries. Andrew, let's go to the next one because we're only 3 minutes left. And if someone has a question for them, you can feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll try and get to it. Okay, so you know how we love to close out our wrap up our webinars by amplifying something positive. So today's amplify is #amplify, learn to live. I saw Andrew dropped in one. Go ahead and drop your amplifies. What do you want to amplify after listening to today's webinar? Oh my gosh, what do you want to amplify? So go ahead and drop those in the chat. #amplify, learn to live, #amplify, teen impact, yes, and engagement. Hashtag amplify being an auntie. Yes. #amplify, make more impact. Yes, make more changes. Okay, keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. Go ahead, next slide, Andrew. Love it, Tammy. Thank you. This Friday, is that right? This Friday, it Taste the Cafe, being different, belonging together. So this Friday, you want to be here for our cafe. You want to sign up today, use the QR code, and you can go ahead and register for it today. Next Friday will be our last cafe of the month. And then in November, guys, we're moving our cafes from every Friday to the first and third Friday of the month. So go ahead and get filled up on your cafes right now because you're going to be missing them when they, take a break. So, okay, use the QR code, sign up today. And remember that that's being done by our National Parent Cafe Leadership Team. Most of them are on today's webinar. Yay! Shout out to the NPCLT. Next slide. Tammy. All right. Don't forget to use today's link. Use the QR code, and you can sign up for all of the upcoming webinars next week. For all the upcoming webinars next week, we've got some good ones on the hotline for you. So go ahead and do that today. All right, go ahead. Don't forget to stop by our website and fill up on your supplies. You guys know that you need those boxes are raggedy by now, guys. It's time to buy some new Parent Cafe boxes, okay? And your families probably need them. Your cafe teams need them. So go ahead and fill up on all of your Parent Cafe stuff, okay? And don't forget, there's a lot of gifts on there too. And join our YouTube community. Use the QR code. Go and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yay! Because we are we're growing, right, Andrew? What are we at right now? 430. Yay! We're growing. Yay! We're so excited. We probably should have started this a long time ago, Andrew. We probably like 12,000 people. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, for being here today. Thank you for all that you guys do. Right. Andrew, thank you. We got to stay humble. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Fatai. Thank you, Vinda. I feel like I'm a sister. I can say Vinda. Wait. Let me just close out by saying thank you very much, Lavenda Tuionetoa. Yeah. And Fatai Langi. I was practicing that the whole time. Like, I'm gonna get that right before I get out this webinar. Thank you guys, and thank you for everybody who joined us. And shout out to Andrew. You're always the greatest tech person. And we'll talk soon.